All right. Television's royalty was out on Sunday, September 15th, when the 76th Emmy Awards took place. Hosted by father-son comedy duo Eugene and Dan Levy, the awards show mostly followed expectations with a surprise win from Gene Smart's show Hacks, taking home Best Comedy Series and Best Actress in a Comedy Series for Smart herself. Otherwise, Shogun and The Bear cleaned up, with the former setting historic records, including Anna Sawai and Hiroyuki Sanada becoming the first Japanese actors to ever win Emmys. The Bear did well for itself as usual, with its 11 awards setting a new record for the most wins for a single season of comedy. Are we in another golden age of television?
I think we are. I think we're seeing that shows that are getting a lot of buzz from people who are watching them and that are being talked about on social media and in our personal lives are really strong. The Bear and Shogun are definitely two of them, but a lot of the other ones that won awards were important shows that people like too, like The Crown and True Detective Night Country and Fargo. All of these are really buzzy shows that people love, and even though streaming is a big part of this, a lot of these shows are both being released on cable and streaming. So it's kind of an interesting look, and a lot of that is FX and Disney, who ended up winning the most awards overall in the Emmys. But I'm excited for the future of television. I think there's so much content out there that we can get lost in the noise. We were kind of talking about that before the show, even just like, oh, I want to watch this and I want to watch that, but I don't have time, or it's too long, or I'll get to it eventually. I don't know what that's going to do to television, because then it's kind of becoming this thing like the same shows are winning things over and over again, like The Bear. Yeah. And we won't talk about whether it's a comedy or not. I think
yes,
maybe
we want to. Oh, yeah, I'm going to talk about it.
Spoke when they didn't give it Best Comedy Series. I think that's interesting. But yeah, I think we're in a great, great time for television. And I think Shogun setting those standards and setting those records that it did, especially for Anna and Hiroyuki, I think that's really cool. So I'm here for more of it. I want to watch it, if nothing else, for Dan and Eugene Levy's comedy, because the clips I've seen have been really good.
Yeah, I really like the clip going around where they were making fun of The Bear for not being a comedy. They were like, yes, in the spirit of The Bear, we will not make any jokes about it not being a comedy.
Yeah, it's funny.
Pretty good. I'm actually really glad that that Hacks got some attention, because I think that show's been really, really great. We caught up on that earlier this year, and it's a great show. Gene Smart's killer in it, and it's a really funny show, still poignant, still has a lot of like drama to it and interesting character development, but it is comedy forward. So I felt for all the other last year or two when The Bear kept winning Best Comedy, because I do think that is a really valid argument for it not winning Best Comedy, even though it's a great show and should win something. I think it should submit for drama, and I think it might win that. But it's I think Hacks is a better fit for Best Comedy Series, and it's really, really good and really dealt with some cool stuff and deals with it in a way that isn't preachy, because it kind of like shows the BS of both. Like, it's about, I don't know, have you guys seen it?
Hacks?
I've seen the clips, and I love Gene Smart, but I haven't seen it yet.
It's great. She plays like a Joan Rivers type comedian who's kind of like washed up, and she hires a writer who's like a young, very woke, very like, I guess woke forward comedian, and like, their struggles of them trying to like resolve the two types of comedy, and it's sort of like a generational passing back and forth of like calling each other on the bullshit of both sides or whatever. And I think it's a lot of fun and really good and constantly hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, you said we weren't going to talk about the Bear not being a comedy, but I want to talk about The Bear.
I don't want to talk about
because
it. I don't want the heat.
That has really dominated the conversation after the Emmys. Like, that has kind of been, and it's almost been like levels of controversial at this point, because, and you also said, Haley, that, people are starting to win, like The Morning Show and Hacks again for like Best Supporting Actress, and like all of this, you're seeing these people who got the award in season 1 or season 2 of the show, and then they're getting it again. And Jeremy Allen White is another example of getting the award again in the next season. And that is causing a lot of drama in Hollywood at the moment, because people feel like, and I think is kind of valid, that this is stealing the recognition away from shows that deserve it. All right, so you think about someone like Selena Gomez, who was up for Only Murders in the Building, has never been recognized for her performance in that, right? Like, you think, like, there's a lot of these people who are kind of waiting their turn, and then you're seeing these shows win multiple times when it's the same cast, same show, another season, but still, like, that's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. And The Bear has kind of become the center of that controversy, because it is not a comedy. Like, it is a drama. Like, full stop, it is a drama. Like, it is, writing a comedy is different than writing The Bear. If you're writing a comedy, you got to be like writing punchlines and jokes, and that's totally different than writing a series like The Bear. And so people who are in the comedic side of Hollywood in that industry, they're sort of taking fire here, and they're saying, like, look, like, we're being sort of elbowed out by a show that has submitted itself as a comedy, and the Academy hasn't done anything about it. And so now we're kind of losing to this show every year. And luckily, like you said, the Academy did give Best Comedy to another show, which is a true comedy, which I think was a good move. I think The Bear would have taken a lot of heat if it had won Best Comedy again. To be honest, like, I don't know if it would have been great for it. Like, it sounds dumb, like not winning the Emmy for Best Comedy would hurt it, but I think it would have hurt it, because I think a lot of people are starting to kind of see that, like, they're cleaning up every year for the same show. Not that it's bad, it's a great show, but it's stealing a lot of the spotlight in people's eyes, especially from comedies. And so I think that that's a really interesting conversation. I think I do wonder, like, what that means for The Bear going forward. Like, will they consider switching to drama? Because they're going to be up against a lot stiffer competition in a drama. They would have been up against the Shoguns of the world and all of that. But still, it kind of belongs there. So it's a really interesting conversation, I think, about the future of the Emmys, and, like, what do these categories look like, and how we diversify who we give these awards to and who we give recognition to, and what recognition means, and not necessarily sort of putting the Emmy in the hands of the same person for the same role that they're playing every year, which is starting to really kind of backfire a little bit on the whole thing.
Well, yeah, when you've got so many shows and such a diversity of content out there, it's really hard to give an award to everyone. And it's not supposed to give an award to everyone. You're supposed to give an award to the best. And so I bristle at the idea of, like, being strategic with it to make sure you spread them around, but I understand what you're saying. I just think, in general, The Bear's just miscategorized. But at the same time, I wonder, in, like, Earth 2, where they didn't win Emmys at all, if The Bear would have gotten traction to be making a 3rd and 4th and 5th season, right. Because the Emmy wins for comedy, which it probably didn't deserve, if we're being honest. It deserved them quality wise, but didn't deserve them in that category. I don't know that show would have caught on the way it has and be such a popular show. And so it's kind of interesting to think that, like, maybe that was a strategic thing to get some attention, which worked. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I think it's all been pretty well addressed at this point in time. So I'll kind of avoid the controversy by just leveling some praise towards FX and Hulu. I've been banging the drum, but again, just to see, the two triumphant series coming out of this, The Bear and Shogun, both coming from FX and FX on Hulu. If you're not on the train, get on the train, because you're missing out otherwise. But, The Bear is getting some flack for being relegated as a comedy, but I also do want to point out that Shogun had a little bit of a last-minute change-up when we did get the news that it was going to get a second season. That changed it from being a limited series to the first season of a drama series, which opened the door for it to win some awards, as well as some other shows to get some attention. So, it's not all doom and gloom, and it's not all pointing the finger. Some of it can be copacetic and, celebrating the wins and successes of others. But the last time we talked about The Bear forthright and in a real way on this show, I had not seen The Bear. I have seen all 3 seasons of The Bear since, and I do have to say, I do think the categorization as a comedy is misplaced. I can understand why people would lean towards that, because the show does this thing where it ratchets up the tension to where you're like just feeling this anxiety, and then they break it with some comedy relief that does get like a general, like a legitimate guffaw and like, you know, audible reaction out of me. So in that sense, yeah, I have had some of the best laughs that I've had from watching TV from The Bear in the last few years. But it's a shame that, you know, it can't just all be celebrating the successes and the triumph of the show. It does have to come with controversy and what could have been or what should have been. But, you know, I'll leave that up to other people to hash that out. I'm just happy to get such incredible and tremendous content. And yeah, it really is a golden age of television that we're living in right now.
I have a final line on getting the heat off the bear, the heat of the kitchen off the bear. This is not a new problem at the Emmys. Like the Emmys being awarded to the same people over and over and then missing other people. And Steve Carell, and I did a quick Goog to make sure I was right, Steve Carell never won an Emmy for Michael Scott. An iconic role in an iconic series, never won an Emmy. And so it's nothing new, and it's kind of like, hey, maybe Emmys, you need to do an overhaul of your award system because some things are slipping through the cracks.
Well, and it puts the talent in a little bit of a bad place because it's not their fault. Like, it's 0% their fault. But, I saw a Variety article where somebody, I don't remember if it was a reporter from Variety or what, but they asked Ayo Edebiri and Eben Moss-Bacharach on the red carpet, about it. And they were like, oh, well, you're in this category for comedy, but it's kind of a drama. What do you think about that? And that's putting them in a really bad position because they shouldn't have to answer questions like that. It's not their decision. And they kind of gave an answer like, well, I mean, at the end of the day, we just make a show, drama, comedy, kind of who cares? It's got elements of both. And the headline was drama, comedy, who cares? You know, and it's like they clipped that to make it seem like the people from The Bear were just whatever, come at us. But that's not what they were saying at all. But it just I hope that doesn't become the conversation around the show, which I don't think it will. I think this conversation will die out until next year. But I think that is it's not gonna change the streaming numbers of The Bear or anything. But it just kind of puts these actors and actresses in these weird positions sometimes where they get asked about it and they're like, I'm just an actor. I'm just paid to show up and do my role, or whatever.
Yeah.